Welcome to the MLS Show. It's me, Baz. For those of you who were expecting a studio show, so was I. We did go in the studio, myself and Ped, and this is what happened. Yeah, we spent about 40 minutes discussing everything MLS and went to edit the video and there was no sound. So, bit of a nightmare. So basically, you're going to have to be stuck with me on my own for this week, but we'll be back in the studio. And next week, we'll make sure we do a proper sound check. It was a bit odd because we just recorded some videos for our other channel and they were fine. Anyway, basically what we were discussing was, since it was last year, Bastian Schweinsteiger has signed for the Chicago Fire. The 32-year-old midfielder has joined from Manchester United, spent most of his career at Bayern Munich, of course, won the World Cup with Germany. Perhaps he can do the same with Chicago Fire. Yeah, let's move on to away from idiotic questions in his press conference. Personally, myself and Ped think that it's a really good signing for the Fire. Yeah, we've been at pains to say that we'd like MLS to bring that age group down. But I think Schweinsteiger's a little bit different. He's never been the fastest player around, and he hasn't played a lot of football since leaving Bayern Munich. So I still think he's got enough in the tank. I think he will bring... he'll put the spotlight still on MLS, I think, with this. It's a move to Chicago, and it's a great bit of business by Chicago Fire. They've got their midfield, coming along really nicely now, and to have him in there, he is a kingpin, of course, and he will get people talking. That German market will be fully focused on Chicago. But I think it's more than that, because he still has got a lot to offer as a footballer. I don't think it's quite as simple as just saying, this is another MLS signing, an aging midfield player, and they've brought him in to try and get some traction. I think he's better than that, and he's proved at the weekend, made his debut at the weekend, of course, for Chicago Fire against Montreal Impact. It took him 17 minutes to get off the mark. It was I wouldn't call it a typical Schweinsteiger goal. It was a brilliant header, lovely ball from David Beckham, and Schweinsteiger powering home the header inside the 6-yard box. But it showed Chicago Fire that he's got the stomach for the fight. He looked really up for it. And like I say, I think he'll add that little touch of class to the midfield, and it's a great midfield as it is now. And Fire have impressed me so far this season. He looked really good. In this one, went 2-1 behind, goals. Mancuso again with a goal for Impact, and they got themselves ahead in the 90th minute, I think it was. But then Solignac levels up for Chicago Fire, so proving that the Fire aren't, going to go anywhere really. That good sustainability, that endurance to keep going is important, and Solignac getting them what I thought was a deserved point. But very, very impressed with Schweinsteiger on his debut. Yeah, he's got to deliver week after week, but it's been a really good start for him in his opening game. The first game of the weekend, Toronto against Sporting Kansas City. I watched this one, a tight game in Toronto. A game of... There was missed opportunities, but a game that both defences came out on top. Toronto missed good chances early on, and then Dom Dwyer missed certainly one gilt-edged chance, I would say, in the second half for Sporting Kansas City. But, Kansas have been excellent, defensively so strong. And Toronto, we know that they will build Giovinco back in the side at the weekend. Once his fitness gets back up to speed, we know that him and Altidore are a handful for anyone, but a goalless draw there. And another goalless draw for the team that has impressed me most, I would say, in the start of MLS, Atlanta United. They went away to current MLS Cup holders, Seattle Sounders, and they drew 0-0 as well. Without Martinez, of course, who'd been fantastic form. He's injured on international duty. He wasn't there. For Seattle, solid start. But, Atlanta, the second in the Eastern Conference, they've had a great start. Seattle, I think the 5th or 6th in the Western Conference. They'll just hope to build a game, but at decent points, I would say, for both sides. Moving on, New York City 2, San Jose Earthquakes 1. New York City had to come back from a goal down in this one. a calamitous bit of MLS defending for New York City, but incidentally started by Andrea Pirlo with a horrendous bit of a terrible back pass to Sean Johnson, went up in the air. It was just comical. Arena, was it Urena? Is that how you say his name? Urena slotted it under Johnson to give San Jose the lead, and then David Villa and two unbelievable back flicks took over. Back heels took over. Jack Harrison profiting from the first outrageous flick by Villa. Bingham in the San Jose goal. He's got to do better. He's a solid keeper, but already we've seen him make the mistake at Sporting Kansas City a couple of weeks ago, and this one, Jack Harrison shot. Yeah, he's hit it well, but it slipped through his hands and into the net. It was put in anyway. He scampered back to knock it out, but it was slotted in anyway. But it was a goal. It was already over the line from Harrison. And then in the second half, Villa again, another lovely little back heel, which resulted in a ball getting cut across and Tommy McNamara lashing home from just inside the area to give New York City a win. Patrick Vieira's men, good start as well for them. Lost in Orlando, but they built it up from there. And while you've got Villa doing stuff like that, just shows his class. He's just a top class player still. Leading by example for New York City. And what can you say? They're a good side. Vieira building something nice and solid there, and Villa not scoring this weekend, but creating two of the goals. So that's how important he is, or rather key in two of their goals. So that's how important Villa is at the moment for New York City. Moving on, Columbus Crew 2, Orlando City 0. My Orlando City side comfortably beaten, I would say, in Columbus. Watch this one. We just never got... Orlando City just didn't get going at all. Columbus Crew worthy winners. Merrim with a goal in each half. And, there is a rivalry going on between Columbus Crew and Orlando City. I don't really understand it over here. I know that it's one of those over there. People will tell me better, but there seems to be a bit of a rivalry between the two sides. Orlando City, first defeat of the season. We know that they're going to be very strong at home. We've already proven that in their opening couple of games. So that's something that they've got to build on. Road wins will be important as well. Jason Kreis has got to get that sorted. Still missing Kaká at the moment, of course. And it's in these kind of games where they're looking for that inspiration. They've got Perez Garcia, Giles Barnes, they've got Rivas, they've got Larin. You still need that little bit of experience and that little bit of class that Kaká brings. He's on the next level to those players. And that's what we miss in these tight games. For Columbus Crew, they're getting stronger. As you go through the big win here for them. They were hammered in Houston, but they've not looked back from that. They've got better and better from them, and I see them as if they can get that form back of a couple of seasons ago. Yeah, they've not quite been the same without Kai Kamara. Ola Kamara's got goals. Higuain hasn't really got the form back, I would suggest, of a couple of seasons ago when Kai Kamara, Higuain, Ethan Finlay, Merrim, they were the front four of Columbus Crew, and he was so exciting to watch and strong. And I think when Kamara went out last season and joined the Revs, they lost the focal points. Even though Ola Kamara come in and scored goals, they lost the focal point. But I feel as though they're just starting to get it back now. They're just starting to turn that back. So a really good win for them. But Orlando City, like I say, missing Kaká, and they need his experience in important road games. DC United 2, Philadelphia Union 1. Ortiz and Acosta from the penalty spot for DC Union, CJ Sapong. DC, a good win for Ben Olsen's men. That pitch is woeful, by the way. It needs improving. It was bobbling around. Even a square pass was bobbling. So obviously DC, when you move into that new stadium, make sure your pitch is absolutely perfect to play the football on. But this was a good win for them, against Union. Union, bottom at the moment, started poorly. Jim Curtin's really got to inject that steely determination that they had 12 months ago when they went off to a flyer and led the Eastern Conference for so long before tailing off. They've got to get some of that back. They look a little bit lost at the moment. But an important win for DC United. Moving on, it's happened. It has happened. Minnesota United have won their first MLS game massive, massive congratulations to Adrian Heath, my boyhood idol. And what a win it was, 4-2 against Real Salt Lake. Went behind Mulholland with a great strike early on. I think it was the 4th minute. Rattled it into the corner of Shuttleworth's netting. You're thinking, there they go again. Inside 5 minutes, they're behind. But, you know, Kevin Molino scores a really brave header and then assists Ramirez with a lovely little through ball. Ramirez gets there before Raimondo, clips it over him to put Minnesota ahead. Game on a knife edge, swaying. Minnesota doing a lot of attacking. Real Salt Lake threatening on the break. And then Raimondo tries to Cruyff a ball forward and gets it all wrong. Ramirez takes it off him and lashes it into the net for 3-1. Venegas made it 4-1. And then Movsisian pulls one back late on for Real Salt Lake. But a big win for Minnesota United. Now, you know, the big thing for them, they've been scoring goals. They scored in every game. Yes, keeping the goals out is a problem, but Adrian Heath is early on, and you know, he's took this team in the off season and he's trying to mould them into a better defensive unit. He looked a lot better the other night. They need to continue that. Goals, where if you're scoring goals, you will always win games. Got to try and get that defence a bit tighter, but a big win for them and an absolutely brilliant win for them. Delighted for Adrian Heath. Houston Dynamo 4, New York Red Bulls 1. Bradley Wright Phillips gave the Red Bulls an early lead. Cubo Torres weighed in with a hat-trick. You know, Houston, dangerous at home, really making it tough for opponents to travel there. And, you know, the Red Bulls, for them, they'll be disappointed they went down without, you know, a bit more of a fight. But like I say, you know, Robles, a couple of errors. He's better than that. You know, wasn't a great weekend for goalkeepers with Robles as the surname. It's particularly our goalie, Joel Robles at Everton. But he'll do better than that. He's normally a really good goalkeeper. But a great win for Houston Dynamo, and they're flying that flag. They're up there doing absolutely brilliant. Vancouver Whitecaps 4, LA Galaxy 2. Vancouver having to come back from 2-1 down in this to beat the Galaxy. And Galaxy just struggling. Lost 3 of their opening 4 games. They are struggling at the moment. Bruce Arena's gone out. Gerrard, Keane, Alan Gordon. They've lost some big characters at that club. And at the moment, they look way, way short. So they've got to turn that round. Kelton Alfo's got to get that turn round as soon as possible. But a heavy defeat for the Galaxy in Vancouver. Final game of the weekend, Portland Timbers 1, New England Revolution 1. This game remembered for me for an absolutely fantastic volley by Diego Valeri. It was Zidane-esque. It was absolutely brilliant. Side volley into the roof of the net to give Timbers the lead. And Portland looking strong, looking as though they were going to get the 3 points. But my boy, Lee Wynn, coming up big for the Rebs near the end of the game. 84th minute, I think, he tied it up. And New England Revolution have started well this season, and they need to keep this going now. Wynn has got a couple of goals now this season. They lost up in Dallas, you know, after leading in that one, but I think they look a lot sharper this season, and they're looking for a big season from Kai Kamara. And Wynn didn't have the greatest season last year, Lee Wynn, but this year, well, you know, looking for him to have a bigger season. But a 1-1 draw, Portland Timbers top of the Western Conference. They look strong, got that defensive shape back, and they look a very strong outfit. So they're doing really well at the top of the Western Conference. Right, that's it. That's your roundup. Me and Ped will be in the studio with sound next week, I promise you. Ignore the cold, full of cold at the moment, so thanks for that. Thanks for subscribing. Keep spreading the word, and I'll see you next week on the MLS Show. Welcome to the MLS Show. It's me, Baz. For those of you who were expecting a studio show, so was I. We did go in the studio, myself and Ped, and this is what happened. Yeah, we spent about 40 minutes discussing everything MLS and went to edit the video, and there was no sound. So, bit of a nightmare. So basically, you're going to have to be stuck with me on my own for this week, but we'll be back in the studio, and next week we'll make sure we do a proper sound check. It was a bit odd because we just recorded some videos for our other channel, and they were fine. Anyway, basically what we were discussing was, since it was last year, Bastian Schweinsteiger has signed for the Chicago Fire. The 32-year-old midfielder has joined from Manchester United. Spent most of his career at Bayern Munich, of course. Won the World Cup with Germany. Perhaps he can do the same with Chicago Fire. Yeah, let's move on to away from idiotic questions in his press conference. Personally, myself and Ped think that it's a really good signing for the Fire. Yeah, we've been at pains to say that we'd like MLS to bring that age group down. But I think Schweinsteiger's a little bit different. He's never been fully focused on Chicago. But I think it's more than that, because he still has got a lot to offer as a footballer. I don't think it's quite as simple as just saying, this is another MLS signing, an aging midfield player, and they've brought him in to try and get some traction. I think he's better than that, and he's proved at the weekend, made his debut at the weekend, of course, for Chicago Fire against Montreal Impact. It took him 17 minutes to get off the mark. It was this player around, and he hasn't played a lot of football since leaving Bayern Munich. So I still think he's got enough in the tank. I think he will bring. He'll put the spotlight still on MLS. I think with this, it's a move to Chicago, and it's a great bit of business by Chicago Fire. They've got their midfield, coming along really nicely now, and to have him in there, he is a kingpin, of course, and he will get people talking. That German market will be